So in this lesson, we are going to build a rapid prototype of one of the tools inside of Revamped, and we're going to do this using make.com and Airtable. Very similar to the video we did a couple lessons ago. But what I want to explain to you is this is how we actually came up with the idea for Revamped. And this all really stemmed down to our newsletter, WGMI Media. And we are constantly sifting through new topics and new things to mention inside of our newsletter. And we thought, what better way to do this than to be able to find articles that, are getting a lot of traction, save them in one place, and automatically have AI generate a newsletter output for each one of these articles. It would really save up a lot of time if our writer could get, hey, here is a AI written draft of the article that you need to write, make some improvements, make some adjustments to it, and it would really speed up the entire process for us to be able to do a weekly newsletter and source the amount of content. So everybody on our team could basically just find articles and add them to Airtable, or in our case was Notion, and OpenAI would automatically generate newsletter snippets for us based on the article and the text within that article. So this was originally how we came up with the idea for Revamped, and we built out a rapid prototype of this using make.com and Notion. But in this case, we're going to do Airtable just because I think it gives a better view of like a database style layout. And so let's go ahead and get started with this. So right here, I'm inside of Airtable. So same thing, create a new table. And inside of this, I have column 1 being our newsletter name. So in our case, this is going to be WGMI Media. And then I have a space for article text, and then a space for our newsletter output, and then just the created timestamps associated to them. Now, once you have this set up, what you can do is actually go to extensions like we did before and add the web clipper extension that I showed in the previous lesson. And this will allow you, this is what we actually used as a team, is everybody had access to this web clipper, and as they were sifting and finding articles, they would just highlight the text, add the article, and it would automatically save on Notion. Now, I don't think we necessarily need to do this in this example. So let's go ahead and just go to WGMI Media. And now that we're in WGMI Media, let's pick a story. So let's do productized services. That works for me. Now what we'll do is we'll actually just go ahead and copy the text in this article, and we will add this to our Airtable article section. So here is the article that we are going to be using to create our newsletter output, and then we'll just add WGMI Media as the name of our newsletter. But now that we have this set up, let's go ahead and jump back into make.com, and we'll start building this rapid prototype. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, go to Airtable. And a little challenge too is if you already know what to do, go ahead and start getting this set up. But we're going to watch records, and we'll select our base, which will be Revamped Demo, because that's what our Airtable is called. And then our table, we didn't name our table, so it'll just be table 1. We're going to trigger this based on our created time, and our label field will be, let's say, article. We'll limit this to 10 at a time, view, grid view, select OK. So here is our Airtable record. Now what we can do is we can actually go ahead and run this module only, and it should record that there is one in here. So we have article and newsletter name, and then the ID. So good, we know that our Airtable is connected. Now the next step is OpenAI, and actually getting OpenAI to create the output and the newsletter that we want based on the article. So go ahead and select create completion. Create chat completion. We'll go ahead and use GPT 3.5 just because it's faster. And we will set up our prompt. So we'll go ahead and select the system role. So you are a expert newsletter copywriter. that writes engaging newsletters based on topics mentioned in other articles. And we will go ahead and add our prompt itself. So our user to system prompt. And this is going to be based on your task is to write a newsletter based on the topic discussed in the article below. This newsletter should be no more than 200 words in length and should cover all the key points in the article. And below I'll say, please make sure to use our newsletter name below. And then we will go ahead and add our newsletter name here as well as the article. And all we have to do here is add newsletter name and article. And we'll go ahead and select OK. Now let's actually run this. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. That way we can actually get a newsletter output inside of OpenAI, and we'll go ahead and run this again. So it looks like it all worked, and OpenAI is creating our newsletter output. Now let's first make sure our message is correct in our prompt. So it did add the newsletter name and the article. Perfect. And then let's make sure we got the output that we were looking for. Okay, in this issue of the WGMI Media newsletter, we were diving into the topic of productized services. All right, now the next step is just getting this to then load on Airtable. So let's go ahead and update a record. Go through the exact same process we did before. And we'll select our table. And we need to pull our record ID. That way we're updating the exact same row that we initially fetched from this Airtable record. And we're going to update newsletter output with the content coming from OpenAI. And we'll go ahead and select OK. And so now if we go back and we'll duplicate this record once again, we should see the actual output from OpenAI inside of this newsletter output. So let's go ahead and run this. And you can actually, the cool thing about Make is you can see everything working in real time. So now we see everything has been updated. So if we jump back into here, boom, we see our newsletter output. So this worked the exact way we wanted it to. And in the next lesson, we'll actually be taking this a step further and creating this on Bubble. And we'll actually be integrating with a Rapid API. So instead of us having to copy the text of every article that we find, we can actually just paste the article URL in. We'll automatically pull all the text from that article, and we'll actually display that in Bubble and then allow you to click generate, and then it will go back to make.com. It will generate the newsletter output, and then it will display it again inside of Bubble. So Miles, one of our amazing Bubble developers, is actually going to be showing you guys this entire walkthrough. So get ready and prepare yourselves for the next lesson.